Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2.
Goes out to a national audience, you know. Tani, we're in the middle of halacha hey. Tani, shavin she'en mokrin godesh shel chitin v'avit shel anovim. Both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree that you shouldn't sell a pile full of wheat or a bucket full of grapes, umatot shel zaytim, or a bucket full of olives, el chaver, to both somebody who's a chaver, meaning that you know he's going to take off trumas and maasros, umisha desho oisa betara, and to somebody who you know is going to do their trumas and maasros betara. In other words, with the outer question of obviously tumah. Vavit shal novim. Now that's the end of the brayso. The Gemara asks, Vavit shal novim lo Torah. He isn't isn't an ovid of anovim muchshar lekabel tuma d'oraisa. Meaning, since it's moist, right? There's juice already coming out, being secreted by the grapes. So if it's muchshar lekabel tuma d'oraisa. Leisa do pliga Rabbi Yechanan. It doesn't it argue Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan said, Kishem she'omru katan chumrin. They said that which Chazal made a chumrah, that if you find a child next to a piece of dough, you assume that the child was tamei, and that he tapped the piece of dough, and he made that tamei. So that's a chumrah d'Rabbanan. Kachamru, so too they said, matin shel zaysim. They said that the fact that a bucket full of olives becomes tamei when you touch it, that's also a chumrin. Now, that's difficult, because why would it only be d'Rabbanan? L'chorot should be d'oraisa, because it's mukshar l'kabel tuma. So why does Rabbi Yochanan hold that the whole bucket becomes is mukshar l'kabel tuma is only d'Rabbanan? It should be d'oraisa. It's moist. So it says more a very interesting answer. What does Rabbi Yochanan argue on? I skipped some names here. Rabbi Chizkiah, Rabbi Yonah, B'Shem Rabbi Yirmiyah, ma pligin b'chiburin. What's the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and everybody else? It has the nature of chibur. In other words, how would each grape be considered connected to the grape next to it? That's the issue here. Tuma can only be transmitted by chulin from Rishon to Sheni, right? And after Sheni it stops, right? The grapes themselves can't be any more than a Rishon, right? So at best the grape next to it could be tamei, no more than that, right? That's assuming that an Avatuma, Sheretz, or something else came into contact with the grapes. But if a Rishon Tuma came into contact with the grapes, then only that single grape should become tamei. How can any of the other grapes in the bucket become tamei? So that's what Rabbi Yochanan is focusing on, not on the muchshar. The muchshar is midaraisa. The question is how the tumah transfers from grape to grape in the bucket. And Rabbi Yochanan says if you should call b'chol makom noshu chibur. But in order to consider all the grapes one mass, it has to be that they bite each other. What does bite each other mean? That when you pick up one grape, other grapes come up with it, which doesn't happen. That'll happen by pressed dates, when you press them together and such like. Then one will bite the other. In other words, when you pull up one, the other will come up. That's not enough. That's not considered to be a chibur. That's considered to be like one piece of food teacher not touching another piece of food, where one would be Rishon, the next would be Sheni, but not that they're all one unit. So therefore, the tumah would not transfer to the entire pile. In order to transfer to the entire pile, it has to be that they're all considered to be one block, one clump, one unit, and that is only true if they're no sheikh. Midrabanan, however, he agrees, the fact that they're all crushed in a tight place together is not a chibur. But here, afilu mo chibur. Here, the fact that they're all crumbled together or confined together in this bucket makes them chibur, but only the Rabbana, not the Raisa. Okay? Says the Gemara, shiur in Torah, but even Rabbi Yochanan agrees that it's mukshar l'kabel tumah midaraisa. So that's not the issue. The issue is not the hechsher. The issue is how the tumah is transmitted from olive to olive and from grape to grape. Come Rabbi Yirmiyah, so Rabbi Yirmiyah was standing up with Rabbi Yirmiyah, and they were schmoozing together. Amar he said to him, Ata Marta Damilsa, did you say this over? Because it's attributed to Rabbi Yirmiyah. So he said, did you say this over? Amar he said, yes, Mini, I said this. And I said even more than that. The truth is, I said, Afilu hechsherin in chumrin. I said, even the fact that it's mukshal kabatum is only a chumra de rabban, it's not the raisa. How so? V'atani, didn't we learn that you can't sell a pile of grain or a bucket of grapes, or a bucket of olives, only to a chaver, somebody who is knows to A, take off mitzvahs, and B, but also that you know he's going to do betara, and that sounds from the fact that we're barred from selling it to a person who's not going to be marketing these two things. Vavid shel to shel shanavim lo tayrahu doesn't sound like this. That's mukshal kabel to mataraisa. Because otherwise, why would we forbid you to sell it to a person who's not going to be makbid and some of a tara? That chumrah can only apply to an issue where there might be a tumah d'oraisa. Now there's only going to be a tumah d'rabbanan. We wouldn't be so machmir by tumah d'rabbanan. Similarly, matan shel zeisim Torah should be an issue. There should be a d'oraisa. My kedoins, what are you going to do with this? Brisa asked Rabbi Yoina to Rabbi Yirmiyah. Tipoter, so says Rabbi Yirmiyah, you resolve that it's like going to Rabbi Meir. The Meir holds that the liquid secreted by the grape or by the olive when it's sitting in the bucket is a beverage. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, I myself don't hold that way. I hold that the liquid secreted by the olive or the grape is not a beverage. What's the beverage? Later on, the grape juice or the olive oil. But not what gets secreted, the moisture which comes out of the date or out of the olive or out of the grape while it's sitting there. So if I hold that moisture can be machshir, something be kabel tuma, that's only the rabbanan, not the raisa. The raisa must actually be the grape juice or the olive oil, not this. So he holds even the hechsher on this fruit is only the raisa, is only the rabbanan, not the raisa.
Now that liquid, that moisture comes out, it's not only on one grape or olive, it's on the whole cluster.
Right, it's machshir, all of them the rabbanan. That's right. All of them mushal kabel tuma, but only the rabbanan. That's what he's saying.
And you don't need this concept of the grapes.
They still do. You still do. You need to come on to that also. Because otherwise, how do they become one unit? That if I touch one grape, all the grapes will come to me. Or touch one of the olives, all the olives will come to me.
Each grape is going to have...
but the Talmud person might only touch one of them. That's what we need. That's how we have the Tumah transfer. Says the Gemara, I'm Rabbi Zir. Rabbi Zir said, Talmud the Beis Shammai. Why does Beis Shammai specify that you don't have to sell that you're not allowed to sell your olives or grapes to somebody who is not going to be making a tumatar? Why doesn't he mention that you're not allowed to sell your grapes only to olives only to somebody who's going to be making on Meiser as well? Why doesn't he mention that facet? So says the Rabbi Zir, he didn't have to mention that. Because by definition, if you're a chaver, you only sell your olives to somebody who Meiser. So therefore, all Beis Shammai had to stress in the mission which we learned last week is that you have to additionally be makbid on somebody who is shomer and hilchos tumah and tara. Now the Gemara, the Mishnah had said back then that the tznuim, meaning that the people who were tzanua in the house of Hillel, even though Hillel was lenient, and he said, you don't have to just sell the grapes and obviously we're going to be makbid until matar. The tznuim in the house of Hillel would be makbid on this. Mao tznuei, what's a tznuah? What are tznuei? Ksheri. People who are kosher. People who conduct themselves properly. Rav Chisda said the next word should be kan. Kan Shanino, here we learned Shakosha Nikro Tzanua, that somebody who does things properly is called a Tzanua. This is going to be interesting because tomorrow morning in Nida Daf Yomi, the same issue will come up, what a Tzanua is. Okay. Halacha Hey in the Gemara, which should be really Halacha above. Shnaim Shabbatzu Karmein L'Tor Gas Achas. Two individuals who harvested their vineyard into one wine press. at L'toch gas, into one wine press, echad meiser, one of them he maintains halachas of meisers, v'echad she'eno maaser, one does not maintain the halacha of meisers, maaser choko, he who meisers, maaser shalo, he who meisers, his part, v'chelko, and his part, and the question is, the second his part, who's it referring to? Probably the other person we'll see in the Gemara. B'chol malkum shu, wherever it is. Okay, Rabbi Lezer. Lezer said to Rabbi. We're going to learn all those issues. Rabbi Lezer. Lezer said to Rabbi Meir. This is going according to Rabbi Meir. To Rabbi Meir says, Lo yitir limkor demai el situl milvad. You're not allowed to sell demai only to a siton, only to somebody who's a wholesaler. Only a wholesaler is allowed to sell demai. So here, in essence, you are giving the other individuals that you're not sure if he's going to meiser or not. You're giving him demai, right? You're giving him vadai, but it's going to result in a situation of demai, right? Because who knows if he's going to meiser it or not. So therefore, you have to meiser his part as well. So like you're saying, chelko means the other person's part. So you have to meiser your part, shalo, the chelko, and the other person's part, because it's if you're selling him something which is going to end up being demai, and that's forbidden. The only person allowed to sell demai is a wholesaler. Okay? Upater law, therefore he understands the Mishnah. Literally, he resolves the Mishnah. Hamaser maaser shalo vadai. You meiser your part definitely, because it's tevel, and you know for sure this is going to be your meiser. V'chelko, and the other person's chel, b'chol malkum shu, wherever it is, demai. As demai, because perhaps the other guy will take off trumas some meisers. So therefore, you're meisering his stuff is only demai, misafek, that perhaps later on he'll forget. Okay? Rabbi Yoina moch boy. Rabbi Yoina asked the question, mocher vadai u'misakin demai. If you're going to consider him as selling the other half, in other words, when he's giving the half to the partner, it's as if he's selling it, then you should not call that demai. It's not demai. When is it going to be demai? Perhaps later on, right? Right now it's not demai. Right now it is vadai, right? So the word demai is a misnomer here.
And if he's meiser, then it's not vadai anymore.
Then it's mesukan, right? So Madavshach, the word demai doesn't apply. So it says the Gemara, if you want to apply the concept of demai here, you can only understand it like that which Rabbi Yochanan said. Now this next line is the most difficult line we're going to have today. They have to draw a little bit of a picture for it. If you have, let's assume that this is circle denotes the entire crop, and this is Ruvain's portion, and this is Shimon's portion. Each has a semicircle. Now, the way this is going to be learned is, everybody agrees that even Rabban agrees that you have to meiser here, not just Rabbi Meir, and who says that you're not allowed to sell demai. Even Rabban agree to this. In Rabban hold you are allowed to sell demai. The way it works is like this: meiser shalo vadai. Now, okay, meiser shalo vadai. You divide this circle into quarters, to a pie. Right? Ruvain meisers this part vadai, and this part demai. So he's meisering 3/4 of the circle. This half, which is one quarter of which is his, and a quarter of which is Shimon's, and another quarter which is also part of his half, which is demai. Okay, so the portions divide here, let's say, lengthwise. But the portion which is vadai vis-a-vis the portion which is demai divides widthwise. Why is that? Because our assumption is that when Reuben and Shimon divide up the field, each one of them gets half of theirs and half of the other guys. That's our assumption. Each one gets half of his and half of the other guys. Because we don't know that what Reuben's giving is really his and what Shimon's giving is really his. They were partners. Ein Breira. The assumption is here, Ein Breira. So therefore I'm getting half mine and half his. Right? I'm not getting my part, I'm getting half mine and half his. So therefore, if half of mine is mine and half of his is mine, so on that half I'm taking a vadai, because that's what I'm responsible for. And on the other half, that I'm taking off, only on my part of that, it's mine. Because on that, I'm a super, maybe he's going to do his duty, and he's going to take off also on his semicircle, which is the alternate semicircle to the division of the crops. And therefore, all I have to take off on this is the mine. So in essence, what I have to take off is, I have to take off the maizers on 3/4 of the field. On 50% vadai, 25% of which is mine, 25% of which is his, and on the other 25% which is the mine, which I receive, but really is his responsibility, and he should be taking off meiser, and perhaps he is, but since he might not, therefore I have to take off the mine on that. Is that somewhat clear?
Why doesn't he finish the job and do it on that?
Because that's not his responsibility. That's neither his part, nor is he eating it. It would be midas chasidus for him to take off for that. Okay? He doesn't have to. Right? Okay, so it says, well, again, let's see, it's idea, matzah shelo vadai. So he mitzvahs that part which is his responsibility. Vadai. V'chalko b'chol makom shu demai, and his part, meaning the part which is left over of his chelek, is the mai. That means v'chatzi chelko, it should be v'chatzi chelko shebiyoto mishal chavero demai. That means that the half of the chelek which is in his hands, which might be his friends, is he's meiser's demai. So again, he's meisering 3/4 of the field, half of it as vadai, and 1/4 of it is demai. And that has 3/4 of the field which is meisering. Again, one part of that is the vadai of his friends, another part of it is his vadai, and the third part is his demai. Okay? So it works according to everybody. Regardless of whether you hold that you have to meiser stuff which you give to somebody, will sell to somebody else, or not meiser stuff you sell to somebody else, regardless of you holding can give demai or not give demai, this is the way you have to do it. You have to be machmer and take 3/4, half vadai, and 1/4 demai. Okay? Says the Mishnah further, halacha vav, which is really halacha zayin. Shnaim shekiblu sada. Now the rest of the Gemara for today is very easy. Shnaim shekiblu sada barisas. 2 people received the field as sharecroppers. They were partners in sharecropping. Or shiyoshu, they were heirs. Or shenitfa shtatfu, they became partners. Yochlu lomar lo. Now that's let's say a chavrin and amoritz. We're both sharecroppers. They're both tenant farmers. Okay. I am Naaman. The other guy is Choshud. I'm credible on Trumas and Maisos. He's not. So there, I could say, you take wheat over there, and I'll take wheat over here. You take wine over there, because in that way, each one of us is getting our own portion, and I only have to worry about my portion, not about his portion. I have to worry about mine, because we divide it up that way, in a way where definitively that which I get is mine and that which you get is yours. Avalo yomar lo, but he cannot say to him. Now, this is where they get, in the previous Mishnah, they had combined their chalokim, right? They had separate chalokim, and then they put them both into the wine press. That's why I'm stuck with this circle, this pie chart, where I have to meiser 3/4, because everything is mixed together. There's no way to get out of that mixture. But here, we're trying to prevent that mixture, and therefore I say, I'll take the wine in New York, you take the wine in Chicago. I'll take the grain, in Dubuque and you take the grain in Des Moines, right? We're dividing up, and we make sure that the two portions never join together. That's okay. We can do that. Okay? So in that case, I'm responsible for your part, and you're responsible for your part, my part, and you're responsible for your part, and we're not responsible for each other. But he can't say to him, I'll take wheat and you take barley. You take wine, and I'll take oil, because that's not a true division. In that case, in essence, each one's buying from each other, and in essence, I'm selling you tevel, and that's also again because that's not that's although it might be equitable, that's not obviously the way the deal was forged. The deal was forged that we should be partners in each and every commodity. Not that I should be get all the barley and you should get all the wheat. So that's like buying and selling tevel, and that's forbidden. Okay. Similarly, chaver v'amoritz yoshus avim, a chaver and amoritz who both inherited their father. Amoritz yochul lomar. The amoritz can say, Tola tochitim, you take the wheat, shemakom putting in so place. Manichitim shemakom putting, I'll take the wheat in the other place. Ata yain shemakom putting, you take the wine in so place. Vani yain shemakom putting, I'll take the wine in the other place. Avalo yomerlo, but he cannot say to him, Tola tochitim, you take wheat, vani etzorim, and I'll take barley. Tola lach, you take the moist stuff. Vani etzotosi yavish, and I'll take the dry stuff. Why do you want the dry stuff and not the wet stuff? Very good. Tani, we learned. Yisrael v'akum shekanu sada b'Syria. A Jew and a Goy bought a field in Syria. Now in Eretz Yisrael, we said according to several mandarmim that you have to be even from the field of a Goy you have to be mafresh trumas u'maisrus, right? But in Syria, you don't have to be mafresh trumas u'maisrus from the field of a Goy, only from your own field. So what if a Jew and a Goy bought a field together? You can't determine which part of the field belongs to which person, and therefore each kernel of grain is half chiyuv and half ptur. The part of Yisrael is chayav, chelko shalak potter. The part of the guy's potter, because Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds what about breira? Yesh breira. And each person can figure out, when we divide, that retroactively clarifies, this is my portion, and only my portion is chayav, not his portion. This is midrabbana. All trumas u'maisrus in Syria is rabbana. Yeah. We hold ain breira by the right, so yesh breira by the rabbanos. But that's only our pshara. In Shas you'll find the machlokas regardless. Okay, this is only the pshara of the poskim. Okay, says what Rabbi Yasa b'shem Rabbi Chanina says, ma pligen. Let's limit this machlokas. When is machlokas true? Kishachoku sada b'kamasa. When they divide up the field, when it's still standing. Avol imchoku godish, but it's already harvested and they divided up. After Shingam model Rebbe shekol kelch sheshutfusi. Even Shingam Leo concedes to Rebbe that since they harvested it as partners, then they became partners in each and every kernel. And there's no way of separating out from each kernel that it should be sole ownership, that each kernel should be sole ownership either of the Jew or of the Goy. Since they harvested as partners, that means that each kernel now has part Jewish and part non-Jewish ownership. Okay? Rabbi Yonah argues. Rabbi Yonah said, Rabbi Yossi said in the name of Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Mapli, and when is it true? When the Rabbi and Rabbi argue, when they harvested the field, when they divided the field as it was standing. But if they divided up Amorim when it was already sheaves, which is later than Godish. First you harvest, then you make a Godish, a pile, then you make sheaves later on. Okay? So im choku amorim, then Rav Gamliel concedes leChebi shekol kelch v'kelch, that each and every stalk, each and every kernel shows shutfusu as part of the partnership. Al daiti Rabbi Yonah. Now the Gemara asks the obvious question: why does Rabbi Yonah argue on Rabbi Yasa? Al daiti Rabbi Yonah ma ben kedushu ma ben amorim. According to Rabbi Yonah, at the stage of Gadish, when it's a pile, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel would still hold that he can get away with dividing it up, and my part is my part, your part is your part, and never the twain shall meet. Only at the stage of Omorim is it too late to do that, and then Ram Shimon Gamliel concedes that already at that point, whatever I get is already part Jewish and part non-Jewish, part Chiv and part Ptur. Why does he draw that dichotomy and say the difference in stage between Godish and Omorim? So says the Gemara, I'll tell you why. It's talking about B'kaitzer kol shu meiniach lefanov. It's talking about where when you harvest each bit, you one second. Oh, yeah, okay, right. It's about kosher before each and every person. In other words, Rabbi Yonah said, no. My machlokas with Rabbi Yasa is much more much less dramatic than you think. He says, that which I said that only becomes fused by Omorim, that which I said Shimon Gamliel concedes by Omorim, only when in that stage it's still together, is because I'm assuming you're talking about a case where when they harvested into two separate piles. If when they harvested they made it one pile together, then I would also agree to Rabbi Yasa. Because Rabbi Yasa is saying that when they harvested and put into one pile, at that point already I say everybody's a partner in each and every kernel. Says Rabbi Yonah, I agree with that. I'm talking about a case where when they harvested, each one got their own pile. And that's why I assume that they're not partners. What would then make them partners? Only if now they took both piles and made common sheaves. Because then I say that each one now becomes a partner in each and every kernel together. Okay, that each statfus, that partnership fuses them back together again. So really our machlokas is really a machlokas essentially just in case. It's scenario. We both agree that as long whenever there's a commonality between the two of them, at that point it's even Shimon Gamliel agrees that they're fused together for all eternity. Rabbi Yosha said, that's only when they bought the land originally. Reuben and Christopher. When they brought the land together, they bought it with the intent not to divide it up. But if they bought it when they bought it with the intent to eventually divide it up. Even Rabbi concedes to Shimon Gamliel that when we divide it up, since that was our intent to begin with, that I concede the point that this is the portion which I originally intended for myself from the beginning. Now, it could be this only because it's the Rabbanon. Could be in the right, so you wouldn't agree with this assessment. But I don't know. But here, in this case of Surya, clearly is saying that in this case I say that once they agree to divide up, when they set the contract down, that division remains in effect forever, and Rebbe concedes that whatever I get is mine, whatever you get is yours, and there's no fusion in each and every kernel of grain. Okay? Rabbi Yisrael said, Milan the Rabbanim Pligin. The words of the following rabbis argue on this assessment of Rabbi Yeshua. It should be here Achina Shutfin. Brothers who are Shutfin, Machlokas Rebbe and Shimon Gamliel. That's a Machlokas Rebbe and Shimon Gamliel. Now these are brothers who inherited a Yerusha in common. So it says more Achina Shutfin Lo Lachlo came is in the entire structure of Yerusha that there should be an eventual division. Yet Rebbe holds that since Ein Breira, so therefore we don't say each person has their own chelik, therefore they are lekuchos from each other, and therefore the Gemara says in Bo Basra, Machzirim Zel Zeh B'Yovel. Every Yovel they have to give it back to each other, because Ein Breira, and we say that they're just making arbitrary divisions. So we see here, even by brothers, that even by brothers where the clear intent is divided up, we say that it doesn't matter. It's still considered to be that each and every part and parcel of this estate belongs half to Reuven, half to Shimon, and therefore the L'chuchos Emizeh. Now, I don't know. This Yerushalmi is very strange to me, because there's a very basic difference between the case of the two brothers and this case over here. By two brothers, they inherited an estate. There was no contract on the estate. They inherited their father's property, which was fused into one. Here, when the Goy and the Yisrael came to buy the property to begin with, they made a contractual agreement that each person only owned half of it. So I think there's a very, very basic distinction between the cases. I don't understand the Yerushalmi's comparison. Okay, Tzarechiyun. Let's go further. Similar case. Ger v'akum shioshu saviyim. A ger and a Goy who inherited their father. Akum yacholu lomar lo. The Goy can ger v'akum shioshu saviyim akum. A ger and a Goy who inherited their father was a Goy. Okay?
They're allowed to inherit his...
Midoraisa, not midrabanan, he is. Because otherwise nobody's going to be Megayer, if they have rich fathers at least, right? So, Yachul Lomar Lo, the ger could say to the Goy, Tolato Avodah Zarah, you take the Avodah Zarah, Vanina told someone else and I'll take money. Ato Yain Nesach, you take the wine which is libated to Avodah Zarah, Vanina Peros and I'll take fruit. However, that's only before he gets it. If he already took possession of the estate, awesome. Because then he's getting hanor from Avodah Zarah, because he's giving Avodah Zarah to his goyish brother and getting as a result stuff which is mutter, and that's forbidden. Hamocha peres b'Suria. Samuel sells fruit in Syria. V'amar Mishal eno Yehudiin, and he says they belong to a goy. Chayev laser. He is tough to meister them. We don't believe the guy. He has no credibility. Oh no! I'm sorry. All right, strike them from the record. Do you have Aleph Yud too? It's Eretz Yisrael. I'm sorry. He says that from Eretz Yisrael, Chayev, L'ma'aser, you have to meister them. Of course, why? Because they're from Eretz Yisrael. However, Musarin Hain, if he says they're from Eretz Yisrael, but they're meistered already, he's believed. Shapesh Osar Uapesh Yitir, because he said it's Osar, now he says Mutter. Because had he not said anything, what would I have assumed? That's from Syria, and it's from a Goy, and therefore it's exempt, right? So he has a Peshuas, a Peshitir. He told us from Eretz Yisrael, he told us it's Meiser, right? Yeah, the Shitim Gweta says it's Yerushalmi. It's a Doraisa. So you mean the phraseology never appears? Yeah, because in that does. Right. It's only in Zerayim. It doesn't appear anywhere else. In the Mishnah. Similarly, Mishalihin. If in Syria it says they're mine, Chayev, because we say that even in Syria, you're Chayev to Meiser Midrabanan. You're Chayev Meiser Midrabanan if it grows in a Jewish plot, right? Musar, but if he then says they're Musar, Nema is believed Shapesh Asar Shapesh Yitir. However, if we know he owns a field in Syria, Chayev Leiser, then we have to Meiser, even if he says the Musar. Why? Because that undermines Peshuas or Peshitir. Peshuas or Peshitir is only where the antecedent for Isser is only known to us on his say-so. But if we know he has a field in Syria independently, so we know he's Chayev and Meiser independently, so therefore he loses the Peshuas or Peshitir. Okay, Yisrael v'akum shekono bayis. Shalakum. A Jew and a Goy became partners, and they bought a church, let's say. Vayasham yain nesech, and there was there wine for libation, for avodah zarah, and slomim, and mos, and money. Lo yomar lo tol ato yain nesech v'avodah zarah v'ani mos. You can't say, you take the avodah zarah and yain nesech, and I'll take the money, because again, I'm getting anor there from the Avodah Zarah, right? Because we bought it already. It's already bought. It's not like an estate. By an estate, the ger can say to the Goy, we didn't take possession yet. you take the avodah zarah, I'll take the money. But here they already bought the house with all its contents. So therefore, it's in my possession. I can't say, you take the avodah zarah and I'll take the money.
If it's before the purchase, how could he tell?
It's after the purchase.
No. When you're allowed to.
By an estate? Because still the father's estate. It's not yours yet. That's considered tfusas habayis. Before division, it's called the estate. It's not mine yet. Okay? Well, let's see what he has to do. Says the Gemara, you can't do it. Not only yain nesach v'avodah most. Not only that scenario, even if there were two avodah zaras there, one of them is made like a table. The other one doesn't look like a table. Now, you take the one which doesn't look like a table. Vanino tells us and I'll take the one which looks like a table. Now, the one which looks like a table is not also. I assume because it's a tashmish mevuzeh. If you have, it's degrading. If you have a cross-shaped table, so it's not worshipped, right? Because it's not nice, right? So therefore, it's mutter bano, kind of like jewelry, which is in the shape of crosses and stuff like that, which is mutter bano, right? So this too would be mutter bano. So even this he's not allowed to do. He's not allowed to say, you take that avodah zarah and I'll take this avodah zarah, which is mutter bano, because there too he's gaining from giving the avodah zarah to his kodesh partner, right? So that's forbidden. Rabbi Zira said v'yos. That's take a good Rabbi Yochanan saying. It's a good for ilu chaver v'amoretz. Shoshu saviyah ma'amoretz, because if a chaver and amoretz inherited their fathers and amoretz, v'yusham peros muksharin, and there are peros muksharin and peros she'eno muksharin and peros which are not yet mukshar. Shem omer lo tola toas hamuksharim, and he knows he'll say she'eno muksharin. Can I say to my brother the amoretz, you take the ones which are mukhshar and I'll take the ones which are not mukhshar? I'm not allowed to do that. No. You might be. Livnei Iver is not the issue here. The issue here is whether I'm allowed to be marviach, that I'll take the stuff which is, maybe, is that the issue? I don't think it's an issue of Lifnei Iver. No, it's not necessarily. Previously, he brings down the disciple's son that I'm not allowed to tell him to take the musharin because he's going to make them tummy. And it's supposed to be gorim tuma for petapeiros in Eretz Yisrael. Not because I'm afraid he's going to eat betuma, because you're allowed to eat betuma, but you're not allowed to make peiros tummy. That's why I'm not allowed to give it to him. Okay, so here it's comparable. Rabbi Yochanan Svar is comparable to that. So I'm not allowed to give him avodah zarah, just like over there I'm not allowed to give him muksharin. So now wait a minute, hold on. For Maslisa Pliga, our Mishnah argues on this principle. Our Mishnah, we just got saying that if a guy and a ger, you're rich together, tola to avodah zarah, you take the avodah zarah, v'ani emos, and I'll take the money. I'll take yain nesach, you take the yain nesach, v'ani peiros. That's okay. We said in the Mishnah it's okay. So how can you say that it's not okay to say you take the muksharim and I'll take the ein muksharim? Our Mishnah says it is okay to make such a division. So what's going on here? So says the Gemara, Amar Seifa, v'leisi pliga. Learn the Seifa and you'll see there's no machlokas. What about the Seifa? It says in the Seifa, imishabol reshus hager asur. The Mishnah says if the ger already took possession, he is not allowed to give it over to his brother the guy. Here too, became a shekana. Once we acquired the house together, the church together, so kimisha nichlas reshuso, it's as if it came into my reshus. So let's sort things out here. By the estate, we don't have to divide it up. I don't have to take. I can just say you take the koi, you take avodah zarah, and I'll take the money because it's not yet bo l'shuso. Buy the house, or if the estate was already divided up, it's too late. I can't say you take the avodah zarah and I'll take the money. It's already I have a portion of avodah zarah. For me to barter and exchange is getting it off from the avodah zarah. By the previous Mishnah, where I could tell my Amoritz brother, you take the muksharin. I can't tell my Amoritz brother, you take the muksharim and I'll take the inu muksharim. Really, according to this halacha, I could. According to the strict letter of the law, I could, because it's lifnei chalukah. The only reason I can't do it though is because of peripheral reason. What's the peripheral reason which bars me from doing that? Also, ligrom tuma lepeiros Eretz Yisrael. I shouldn't give him the muksharim because he's going to make the tuma, and I don't want people to cause tuma to peiros in Eretz Yisrael. Okay? Says more further. Akilas Hagir. According to some opinions, this is unclose. According to most opinions, it's not. It's somebody else. Okay? Read it as it may. Akilas who was a ger. Chilaki mechov. He divided up with his brothers, remained going. V'hichmir alatmo. He was a machmir. V'oli chanoy eliyama melech. And he took the avodah zarah and the value of avodah zarah to Yama Melech. Now, what does that mean? Plus, there are three opinions as to what exactly he did. One opinion is Chadamar to Mei avodah zarah Yama Melech, that it was actually avodah zarah money which he got, and he carted that to the Yama Melech. And truth is, according to that, it's not a chumrah, it's mikra adin. Because he got avodah zarah money, he has to take it to Yama Melech, right? So I'm not sure what the chumrah is according to this. Maybe what it means is that he could have given it to his brothers and said, "You take this avodah zarah money, and I'll take the mutter money," but he didn't want to do that. He took the avodah zarah money, threw it to the Yama Melech. What? It was money which his father made off of avodah zarah. His father, let's say, was an idol seller, something of that sort. That's one opinion. The second opinion, Charana Amar, to make chelko shel avodah zarah. It wasn't the money which his father made from avodah zarah, but rather it was the money he got because his brothers took the avodah zarah, which we said is mutter, but he took that money, he was machmir. The third opinion holds avodah zarah atzma holich liyama melech, that he actually willingly took possession of avodah zarahs, of idols, as his portion. Hi, what kind of a shtus is this? Right? He shouldn't have done. He didn't have to do that. He wanted to eradicate any avodah zarah from as a vestige of his father's estate, and that's why he willingly took the avodah zarah to cart off to the Yama Melech. Okay, halacha ches, which is really halacha tes. Amor shamel chaver, and Amor said to a chaver, "Kachli agudas yerek." This is a fascinating halacha. The Gemara is going to expound on it. Take for me go to the marketplace and buy for me a bundle of vegetables. Kachli gluski nechot. Go and buy me a cake. Lokeach stam potter. If you just bought it for him without specifying anything, you're exempt. You don't have to take trumas meitzes off of it. It's his portion. You are just a shliach. You're a dummy. You don't have to take anything off of that. However, what happens if you went to the bakery and said, "Oh, this will be my Danish," and that's going to be his Danish, and the bakery sells Demai, and then they got mixed together. Chayav Leiser. And in that case, you have the Meister, the one you give to the Amoritz. Why? Because you're doing business. Because maybe you're switching yours with his, right? Even if the Amoritz had 100, and you had 1, right? One of yours got mixed up in there. Since you don't know which one it is, you have to meister all of the Amoritz's stuff. Because you have to meister it for him and reimburse him, obviously, for the difference. So you're lost. What? They're all there. They're all there. They're all in the mixture. Yeah. Now I have to take one away. That's like Mevatel Isul Chatchila. They're all there together. Okay, Talmud Tzninan. Now the Yerushalmi, as we know, suffered from poor editing, and the first part of this Gemara goes back on the previous Mishnah, on the Peshas or Peshitim. Tzamatznin, we learned over there. It says that the anim are believed to say that stuff they give you is leket shichon peah, and therefore is exempt from trumas and maasros. You're saying that that's not true. Here you're saying that somebody who sells peros and suya, unless he has a peshos or peshiter, is not believed to say that they're meiser. In other words, if we know that he owns a field in Syria, we don't believe him. So what's the difference? It says more, Tamon there, by the Oni, it should be Shtikoso, not Shtikuno. Shtikoso. His silence, potter. Even if he's silent, I assume it's exempt. Why? Because Stam Peros, which an Oni has, are what? Leket Shichan Peah. The default assumption is that they're exempt from Trumas and Meisers. How there? That's why there, I believe the Onivi says that they're Meiser, or that they're from Leket Shichan Peah, because the default assumption is that they're Leket Shichan Peah. However, here, Shtikoso Chayev. Here, if the garden remains silent, what do I have to say about its fruit, that it's Chayev and Trumas and Meisers, because I know he owns a field. So by default, I'd have to assume that it comes from his field, and that it's Chayev and Trumas and Meisers. Vitani Kane, we learned this explicitly in a brisa, Eshtikoso, Potter, where if he would remain silent, we would have assumed that it's exempt, such that we don't know that he owns a field. There is Nemalakil, there is believed to say that it's Meiser, and we assume that he's telling the truth. But here, where we knew anyway he owned the field, and he just wants to tell us that it's Meiser. So here, since Shtikoso would be Mechayev him, and he wants to speak out in order to exempt himself, Perusha wants to speak out in order to Lahakel, Eino Neman, he's not believed. Tani, we learned, what about a goy? Akum Shir Tzavech V'Omer, it's interesting. A goy is shouting and saying, Both Lulachem many peiros, come and buy from me fruit. Orla, hey. My fruit is Orla, it's great. Which of course is also Netarvai, and it's Netarvai, which is also also Eino Neman. I don't believe it, and I can buy it. See how non-credible Goyim are. Even if he says it's Orla, I don't believe it's also. Right, that's what I say. I say he thinks Orla is better because it's younger, so therefore I don't believe it's Orla because he's lying. He's lying that it's younger because it's really older. All right, Goyim, huh? However, he says I bought him from Chris the Goy. John is selling Chris's produce. Because they're Efshel Livrure. We can go check it out. Let's go check by Chris. The other going to see if it's true or not true. If it's John selling his own fruit, so there's no way of me checking out, so I just say it's not believed. But if he's selling Chris's fruit, I can go find out from Chris. And Club say you don't even have to bother. We never pay attention to what Goyim say. There's no credibility whatsoever. Okay? Questions if it's only Eretz Yisrael, also in Bavel, because in Bavel it seems they gave more Ne'emonos. Here, Rabbi Yehuda was shouting, what if the Akum is saying Mesiach Lefi Tumo? Because Goy is always believed by Mesiach Lefi Tumo. They're just saying innocently without trying to generate any halachic ramifications. The Yerushalmi doesn't answer that question. But we know in the Bavli, Mesiach Lefi Tumo, Goy is believed. So it seems that the Yerushalmi has a more stringent view about Goyim than the Bavli does. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda Boy. Rabbi Yehuda has the following question as well. Kuti ka'akum. Is a kuti, a Samaritan like a goy? The Ispalgun, that says we're taught to tame, the goy takes them, the gra takes them out. Kuti ka'akum. Is a goy is a kuti like goy? The Ispalgun, because of machlokes, kuti eno kakum dive Rebbe, According to Rabbi, a kuti is not like a goy. Rav Gamliel Omer kuti ka'akum b'chol davar. A kuti is like a goy, so it's machlokas here as well. On Rabbun Bar Chia, this is a new issue. Rabbun Bar Chia said, "V'usheh rob mechanso mishalo." When do I say that? When I buy from a? It's getting back to our Mishnah. Getting back to our Mishnah says, oh, is that true? No, still the previous Mishnah. When do I say that if I know that this Yisro has a field in Syria, that I have to meiser because maybe it came from his field, when I know that Ro Mechatzim Shalom, most of what he collects is his own. However, if I know that he has a lot of his stuff comes from Goyim's field, then I don't have to meiser because I assume it came from the Ro, which came from Goyim's field, which in Syria is exempt. Yisrael Shreilo Oris B'Suria. Yisrael had an Oris, a sharecropper in Syria. V'shilech lo Peros, who sent them fruit. V'maharei elu musarin, and he says they're meiser. Ani omer, I believe him with amigo. It's like a Peshas, a Peshita, because what could he have done? Minashuk lokach. He could have bought them from the marketplace. And in the marketplace, of course, what's most of the fruit sold in the marketplace in Syria? Goyish fruit. So Migo, that he could have also said it's Goyish fruit, and I bought it in the marketplace, because sharecroppers, they don't always send the stuff which grew in the field. Sometimes they eat all the stuff which grew in the field, and they send stuff which they buy in the marketplace. So therefore, Migo could have said in the marketplace, he's believed to say it's from our field, but I meistered it before I sent it to you. Okay, that's the Migo. V'ushia also mean motzi b'shuk. Obviously, it's only true if this type is prevalent in the marketplace. Lo sof davar shein lo also mean misoch sadeyu. And this is not only true when he doesn't have that type of stuff growing in the field, where it's very, very reasonable to assume that it comes from the marketplace. But even if he has from that min in his field, became a chosamim by motzi b'shuk, so that's mean it's prevalent in the marketplace. So I say mutar, it's permissible again because the migo maybe he took it from the shuk. Okay, now we come back to our Mishnah. Mas Nisan, our Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi. It's going like Rabbi Yossi. Now here there's a gears of change coming up. The Tanya we learned to the Brisa, halokech stam tzorich leiser. If you take stuff from the marketplace, you have to meiser. Now here the Gra adds that's Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi ain't tzorich leiser. It says if I buy for you stuff in the market, you're the Amor, I'm the Chaver. If I buy for you stuff in the marketplace, stam, without specifying the yours, I don't have to meiser. I'm just your dummy emissary agent. I give it to you, and it's your responsibility to take off the meiser. It's not mine. Okay? That's Rabbi Yossi's. Now, Maran came. Now the Gemara is going to analyze this case. What are you talking about? If it's when the Amor had said to the Chaver, go and buy it for me, shlucho, then obviously, then he's an A's agent, then obviously he's exempt, right? Because even Rabbi Yehuda wouldn't say it's a case. Tzorich leiser, you don't have to meiser in such a case. I didn't do anything. I'm just a dummy agent. If the Amor said the Chaver, go buy for yourself, then the reverse is true. Rabbi Yossi would argue in that case, Shaloen, then it's the Chaver's. And if he gives it later to the Amorts, of course he has to meiser, because he's giving it to the Amorts from his own stock. Elo, where's the machlok? Is Kiana Kaim Bistam. The Amorts said, go buy. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Lo Niskav Mochel Liskos El Lokech. Rabbi Yehuda says, that in that case, the intent of the seller is to sell to the person who's buying from him, who's the Chaver. So therefore, before the Chaver gives the Amorts, what does he have to do with it? He has to meiser it. Because the transaction is between seller and Chaver buyer. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yossi says very long shemachloikas. Rabbi Yossi says who's the seller have in mind to sell to? Not to the person who came to the store, but rather to the guy who ultimately owns the money. So the transaction actually is going directly to whom? To the Amoretz. The Chaver is just again, according to this, a dumb agent. And therefore, does in this case, the chaver does not, according to Rabbi Yossi, the chaver does not have to meiser before giving to the Amoritz. No. He just went to the marketplace. The assumption is the Amoritz will know that. And if he doesn't take it off, he doesn't take off. Yeah, probably because Rov Amoritz might name. So I don't know if the chiv notification. Okay. Lefichach, therefore, this is basis machlokes, chosh mishba machlokes. In nasan achas yisera. What if the storekeeper said he bought a dozen eggs, so a dozen bagels? So the storekeeper says, "Here's the 13th baker's dozen for free. Who gets the free one?" The chaver who bought it, because who does the seller selling to? The guy who's coming to the store. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yossi says it belongs to both of them. So they split the bagel in half. So wait a minute. Machava shita said Rabbi Yossi. This is Rabbi Yossi has exchanged his shita. Because according to Rabbi Yossi's previous assumption, who should get the 13th bagel? The guy with the money, right? The Amoritz, right? Before you said who was the mocher intended to go to the person who was giving the money. And here he's saying goes to both of them. How come? So says no. When the seller gives a 13th bagel, why is he giving it? Because he got money when somebody came into his store. So both psychologically, both elements at work here. That's what we're saying. Kind de ma'osav shozeh v'ayde raglov shozeh. The seller's giving 13th bagel because he got money from this guy who entered the store. So therefore, both of them have a partnership in generating that 13th bagel. That's why Shnei and Chokin, they both divide up the 13th bagel. Okay? Don't like it? Scale of 1 to 10 gets at least a 3, doesn't it? Okay? Says or Tani. There's no ribbons. You can throw in anything extra you want. Tani. Let's say the chaver got a coin for a quarter from the Amoritz, but the chaver ended up using his own quarter, not the quarter he got from the Amoritz. Then he has to meiser, because it's his quarter which is made the purchase according to Rabbi Yossi. Who's the Baal Amos in this case? The chaver is using his money. Even the value is the same, right? Rabbi Yossi said, "Hodo Amar." This teaches us another ramification of the Chosh Mishpat. Hanoisei Mos Chaver. If I give you money, v'chlifon, and you switch them, v'avdu, and you lose the original, you lose them. In other words, what happens is. I give you money to spend for me. And now you switch the money, and you lose the money that you switched. Let me see if I'm getting that right. I give money to you. And you switch them, and you lose them. Right. Oh, that's good. Okay, yeah. I give money. Let's say I give money to you, and you're supposed to spend it for me, and you lose them, right? So you don't have to pay me back. You're shomer chinam, right? So you don't have to pay me back, right? But if I give money to you, and you lose and you switch it, and you lose the switched money, so then you still have my money. You have to give it back to me. You lost your own money, right? Just like over here, it's considered you spend your own money, so it's over there you lost your own money. You didn't lose his money, you give him the money back, which he gave you. Yeah, it works out. Okay? No? But you don't like the concept. The case you get, you don't like the concept. Yeah. All right. Shmuel Amar. Shmuel said, "B'machlik biyod." When do you have to take off? Now we're going to have a kula here. B'machlik biyod. When do you have to take off meiser of the stuff you give the Amoritz? When you divide up, you have two rolls, one of which you bought for you, one of which you bought for him, and you divide up with your hand. And you say, "Here, this one's for you, and this one's for me." What will it tell you about? Rabbi Elazar said, well, we'll see in a minute. Rabbi Elazar said, well, the truth is like this. That's where they got mixed up again. I have to throw that in. Important. Where I divided up. What? Yeah. That's not true.
Money with a big M.
No, there's shmir on money just like there's halva on money. But there's not milveh. No, only where milveh. Only where it's made in milveh, not where it's made in picodon. Here it's made in picodon. What? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Unless he gave you explicit permission. That's your umdana. That's not necessarily true. Here the money is picodon, not money as milveh. If you gave it to him as a milveh, that would be different. He's saying, no, go and buy me something with this coin. Your umdana is that he doesn't care, but the Yerushalmi's umdana is that he does care. It could be that this would be something which would change over time. I'm not debating it could be something which changes over time. Because it could be has to do with the psychology of people who give money. By the time the Chazal clearly regarding the Yerushalmi, clearly regarding it as Bikoron, not as Ava. Alright. Now Shmuel Amar b'machlik biyado. This when did I say the Sefer Mishnah? When they got mixed up, mine and yours, that I have to give you from I have to give meiser off of the one I give you before I give it to you. Only where I divide it up. I said, here's yours and here's mine, and then they got mixed up again. This is talking about when where I take my portion at the end. In other words, I leave it on the table. The Amoritz comes and he takes my portion. I take my portion at the end. Now, it's very ambiguous which is what's going on here. It's not clear. The Gemara is going to sort it out right now. Rabbi Yonah said, Tzurch l'dain and Tzurch l'dain. They're not arguing. Shmuel Rabbi Elazar, we both need both statements. And this is the way to work it. Chilek biyadav and not chelka b'tchila. Let's say I took a roll and you took a roll, now they got mixed up. Let's try and here, let's use coins. This is your roll, and that's my roll. Okay? So I bought them from the shuk separately. I knew when I bought them from the shuk, let's say this is mine, one with the Lincoln Memorial up, and this is yours, one which had the has Lincoln up. Now they got mixed up, so I don't know which is mine and which is yours. So before I give it to you, I have to meiser it. Because it's as if now I'm already involved. That's what the Gemara is saying. So we're not always. When is that? For instance, says more. Notal chilik biyado, v'notal chelka b'tchila, eino tzarich la'aser al shalo. If I take mine away first, I'm the chaver. I take mine away first, and I leave you this. So then I don't have to meiser. El al shlo, only my own. Lo chilik biyado also. If I didn't divide it with my hand, v'notal chelka b'sof, I said, here, you Amoretz, take yours. And you took yours. And left me mine. Also, Eino Meiser, El al shlo, I only have to meiser on mine. Where do I have to meiser the one I give you? Where I took it to myself and then gave it to you. Only where there's Tati L'Reusa. Where I somehow imposed my ownership on it and then gave it to you afterwards myself. Only then do I have to take off meiser, not under any other circumstance. Okay, that's a clarification of our Mishnah. Tani, we learned. Going on in this vein, a person could say to his worker, Helach dinar Zeh, take this dinar, shesebo, and go and buy a drink with it. Ve'ena choshish al schoro, and don't be afraid that he's going to use his salary, lo mishum shvius, not to buy shmita fruit, lo mishum maisus, nor to buy untithed fruit, v'lo mishum yainesa, nor he's going to use it for yainesa. It's his problem. I just gave him money. Avalima marlo. But if I say to my worker, Tseilu kachla kikar, go and buy yourself a loaf for lunch. Vanino saying, take out the next word l'cha. Anino sidomim, I'll pay for it later. That's a different parsha. In this case, or if you say Tseilu kachla revi shayayin, go buy yourself a quart of wine. Vanino is saying domim, and I'll pay afterwards for it. That's bad. Because then when he's eating on my cheshbon. I didn't give him money. I said, go find yourself a loaf or a bottle of wine, and I'll pay for it afterwards. So in essence, the loaf for the wine, I'm giving him. I didn't give him wages, I gave him the loaf for the wine. Then, in both the cases, have to worry that maybe he's going to buy Shemitah, Mishum Maisa, Mishum Yain Nesach. Amar Rabbi Zira said, Nasach and Voni Shluchel Shabbat Bais. What's the difference between the two cases? And that in this case I say Nasach and Vani Shlucho Shabbat Bayis Liskos L'Poel. The storekeeper becomes the agent to the Baal Boss to give it to the Poel, right? Because he says later on I'll pay the storekeeper. So the storekeeper becomes my agent. That's why I'd be afraid that he's going to give him Shemitah, etc. Rabbi Hillel says a different reason for the same thing. Poel Zochel Bayis Mishel Chenvoni. In this case, if I say to the Poel, go get yourself something for lunch and I'll pay for it. So when the Poel takes it, he's saying, I'm being zoicher in this for the Baal Boss, and he'll pay for you later on. So according to Rabbi Zira, the storekeeper's intent is to sell it to the Baal Boss. According to Rabbi Hila, the Poel's intent is to acquire it for the Baal Boss. Because if allowed to pose he takes for the Chenmani, and then he takes the Chayz and allowed to name itself. Manafki b'nei, what's the difference? Tell you what the difference is. The storekeeper is a deaf mute. I think it's a deaf mute. Although maybe even deaf is good enough. No, it's a deaf mute. In that case, according to Rabbi Zira, there's no problem. Because what does Rabbi Zira say the problem is? That the Chenveni becomes my shliach to feed the Poel. Can the Chenveni become my shliach here? No, he has no shlichus, he has no das. Shein shlichus l'cherish. Al daited Rabbi Hila chosh, according to Rabbi Hila, what's the problem? That the Poel acquires on my behalf, me meaning the Baal Boss, and then he acquires for himself. Well, the Poel is not a cherish, he can still do that, right? Tani min learned lo yomer adam l'chaver, a person not say to his friend, Heilch Masayim dinar, here's 200 Jews, ushkol yodi lo, to the person, I'm a chaver, you're an Amor, the other person Amoritz. So I can't say to Amoritz, here's 200 Jews, ushkol yodi lo, to give fruit for my taxes to the king. Why? Because what kind of fruit might he use? To my tevel, so I get enough from the Meyer tevel. Eloimer lo, what you say to him is, Parsheni min oitzer, exempt me from the oitzer. I don't say he should give fruits, he can give whatever he wants. So in that case, I'm not being nana directly from Trumas Umaisers, from Tevel or Vatmai. Chen lo yamar the Mechaver, a person also shouldn't say to his friend, Heilch Masayim Zuz, here's 200 Zuz, Ushkol Yodi Lomnus, and give what I owe to the craftsman, again in fruits, because it might get end up from Tevel. Elormer lo, and he says is Parsheni min umnus, exempt me from my chiyuv vis-a-vis the craftsman. Okay, let's go a little bit further, because we're a little bit behind. Hamad min Chaver. We didn't do two blot tonight yet, right? We started from Loch Hay. Hay, middle of Hay. First Hay. Middle of first Hay. Okay, where are we now? In the Gemara. We have to get to Lamed Aleph. Hamad is Chaver. Lamed Amud Aleph. Hamad is Chaver. If I invite my friend, Shochel Hetzler, the other way. My friend invites me to eat by him. Vilna Mamina Meister, I don't believe him on Meister. No, I invite him or it's for Shabbos. I have Shabbos from Friday afternoon. I say, Mashani Yosi La'afish tomorrow. That's what I'm going to leave on my plate tomorrow. Hareo Meister will be Meister. Truma, meaning that will be eventually Trumas Meiser. Sham Meiser Somachlo, the rest of it will be Meiser next to it. Zesho Sisi Meiser, also Trumas Meiser, the stuff which I actually left on the plate, which is 1/100th, is Trumas Meiser Olav. Truma I'm not taking is only Demai, right? Only Trumas Meiser. Meiser Shem B'Tzvono, and the Meiser Shem will be on the north, or B'Drum, or the south. U'Chulam also will be redeemed on money. Now this is all based on the assumption that what? Yesh Breira. That's right. It's all based on Yesh Breira. Okay. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan said, Masnisin b'Demai. It's all talking about Demai. Habevadai lo? This is not talking about Demai. How about Vadai? Hamasnisin Omar. It should be the word zu is extraneous. Hamasnisin Omar feel bevadai. We know that this is talking about this Bryce. The Mishnah says works even by Vadai. The Tina Tama we learned over there. Hoylotem shall tell base. So if you have tevel fruit in your house, vu base medrash ubasoda, and you're the base medrash or the field, you're allowed to take off. You're allowed to take off. To take off out tonight from wherever you are. So in tamer to Dmaya Nunkayamin, lace yochel ditznina no you Dmai. If you're going to say what's about Dmai, it should say they're only Dmai, not Vadai. So Ma'amar Rabbi Yochanan b'Dmai v'lo b'Vadai. Why did Rabbi Yochanan say it's about Dmai and not Vadai? Lo Amar Elam no. Lo Amar Elam Asnisa b'Dmai. He didn't mean this doesn't work by Vadai this time. Of course it works by Vadai. But our Brian Mishnah is talking about Demai. How do you know that our Mishnah is talking about Demai? Because what doesn't it mention here? I gave it away. What doesn't it mention in our Mishnah? Truma Gedoyla. It doesn't mention our Mishnah is taking off Truma, only Trumas Meiser. So our Mishnah is only talking about Demai. That's why all you have to take off is Trumas Meiser. Because Amaratzi more in Choshen not to take off real Truma. So Avada, the Tanai works even by Vadai. But our Mishnah is talking about Demai. Not Rabbi Yochanan meant to exclude Demai from this condition. Our Mishnah just happens to be talking about Demai. Says the Gemara, Ma bein Demai ben Vadai. So what difference is there between Demai and Vadai? There is some difference, I'll tell you. Vada Demai or the Masal Darvishen B'Shusa. Chazal were meko by Demai that I can take up Trumas Umais first. I can make it tonight Trumas Umais tomorrow, even though Trumas Umais are not mine. There ain't a B'Shusa. They're not mine. They're this guy's Trumas Umais. There's this guy's food. Tomorrow is when it's on my plate, it'll become mine. But now is it mine? No. But nonetheless, I can make the tonight now for tomorrow. That was Chazal's leniency over here. However, by Vadai, enter the Masal Darvish B'Shu. So by Vadai, person can only make this condition outside which is in his jurisdiction, meaning it's already his. He just happens not to be home or in the same location as it. Rabbi Yanai Avalei Tnai on Vadai. Rabbi Yanai had a Tnai even for Vadai food. Yes, Shol Rabbi Chia. Chia Rubi asked Rabbi Chia the Great, my metakna b'Shabsa, am I allowed to do this on Shabbos? But can I make the time for me before Shabbos to be mesakin on Shabbos, even though I'm dealing with Vadai? Said, yes, it says by Ma'aser, you should take a Ma'aser in order to fear Hashem, call him. What does call Yomi imply? Even on Shabbos. Now, the truth is, the disciple son says just in Asmachta, because the issue of taking Ma'aser off, even on Vadai, on Shabbos, is only this Rabbanan, not this Deraisa, because it's Mechse Kimisaki. So this is an Asmachta saying you can even make a Takon on Vadai on Shabbos, and the Asmachta is L'man Tilmad Yiraz Hashem L'kan Kol Yomim. What? No, because you leave it on your plate. It's not Bora. Bora is only if you take Psolos out of Ochel. You're just leaving it on your plate at the end. You didn't take anything. It's not a Maisa. Okay? The Gemara is going to ask about Muktzah. Right. That's without it tonight. That's what Gemara is about to say. So interesting. Rabbi Yana said, I just had a dream last night. After this Maisa, he said, I had a dream last night, and I saw that there was a rod, a policeman's rod over my head. What's this that I saw it? It seems to me that your psak is wrong, and that's why they show me a sign that I'm going to be beaten. They said, no, means eventually you're going to get a position of authority among the Jewish people. It's a positive thing. Rabbi Yeshua Tanai Vadai. Rabbi Yeshua had a Tanai and Vadai as well. Chada Isa. It happened that one time he gave fruit to a certain woman. Should be Itasa, I guess. Certain woman Bashla Yerek, who was cooking vegetables. And Anshis Masakta, before he gave it to her, he forgot to fix it. Asas Lagabe Rabbi Yeshua. So this woman came on Shabbos to Rabbi Yeshua and Sholach Zavdi ben Levi to Yitaknein Leila. And Rabbi Yeshua sent Zavdi ben Levi to go be masakin it for her. Rabbi Ba Bar Memo boy. Rabbi Ba Bar Memo asked, "V'lo Zavdi bar Levi Tzarch Mitzkael Rabbi Yeshua biyarka." Wait a minute, this is Vadai. So who has to own it? Rabbi Yeshua himself. He said, by Demai, I can even do it tonight, which is not mine. But here it's not. It's already. It's Vadai, and it was the woman's on Shabbos. How is he allowed to do it for somebody else's? So it's more Rabbi Zira boy. No, Rabbi Zira said. Rabbi Zira boy, Manu Kayomin.
1 second.
Yeah, okay. Rabbi Zira said, Manaka, we're talking about Ibi Shiesh Lo Tanai Olav Acherim. As long as Rabbi Yoshi had a Tanai originally, that the Tanai was, it should work for me and for others, meaning stuff which is now mine but might be somebody else when it comes to Shabbos. Then Razavdi Bar Levi doesn't have to acquire possession of the vegetables for Rabbi Yeshua. In other words, Ra'im by Vada, because at the time of the Tanai, he said, time of the Tanai was his. And he said in his Tanai that which is mine now, even if it's not mine tomorrow on Shabbos, the Tanai should work for that. And that's good enough. It doesn't have to be his tomorrow as long as it's his today. Okay? That's what Gemara is saying. Be Mishain Lo Tanai, or if he didn't have such a Tanai, Ella, should be Ella, not Lo. Ella Lo V'Lo Shachem, only on his own and not on other people's, then the woman would have had to re-give the vegetables back to Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yaakov Razav Shem Revo Itavtes. He asked, and Zavdi Bar Levi himself. And Zavdi Bar Levi said, "V'lo Zachi Zavdi ben Levi Rabbi Yeshua biyarka." And Zavdi Bar Levi said, "Itaka didn't reacquire the vegetables for Rabbi Yeshua," which tells us that what kind of Tanai the Rabbi Yeshua had? He had a Tanai that anything which is mine now, even if it's not mine tomorrow, then I should be able to meiser it tomorrow by leaving stuff. Abba Rabbi Yanai said, "Tzarich sheyeh zocher tanoya." At the time that you're eating tomorrow in Shabbos Yom Ha'aretz's house, you have to remember your Tanai. You have to remember it consciously. Rabbi Shimon Bar Vah B'Shem Re'el said, it should be lahachish v'osav. You have to actually verbalize it. You have to say, I'm eating now and leaving on my plate based on the Tanai which I made yesterday. Rabbi Yirmiyah Bo Kami Rabbi Zira. For learning Tzokim Misakim Shabbos, if you're verbalizing it, it's as if you're doing the fixing on Shabbos. Why is that permitted? Amar Lei said no. It should be adehitna, since he made the Tanai from before Shabbos, so Chachomer Meiko, because now he's not being Misakim Mamish, it's not even Mechsein like Misakim, because he set the process in motion yesterday. Okay? Rabbi Yirmiyah Boy Kumi Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Yirmi asked him from Rabbi Zira, Vein Osim Ne Ovdan Ochlin. He says, how am I allowed to leave the Trumas Meiser on this plate? I'm not allowed to leave it. It's Baal Tashkis, right? It's Ibud Ochli. Now, maybe you say just leave it, the Amoritz will later take it. That's for sure no good. Because what's going to happen then? The Amoritz will eat it. So I'm going to have to throw it out. Isn't that Ibud Ochlin? So says the Gemara, no, it's not a problem. Amar Le, he said, Mifaro Koshu. You crumb it up into small pieces. And crumb it up into small pieces, you're not being ma'abed to be a dime. You're not causing it to be lost. Yet at the same time, you have to worry the Amoritz is going to eat, because the Amoritz doesn't pass for him to eat crumbs. He's not going to eat crumbs. So that's how you get around the problem of Yibud Ochlin. Rabbi Yirmi Abol Kom Rabbi Zira. Vein Osim Shum Gezel. Wait a minute, it's stealing from the Amoritz. He doesn't give you permission to take Trumas Meiser off of it. How are you allowed to do this? What? That's it, so you would say you gave him the whole thing to eat anyway. That's basically what I think is answered. He's giving you this plate of food, so you should have enjoyment. So this is part of your enjoyment. You want to take Trumas Meiser off of it. However, what the rabbi said argues. What's that? There said they were by a certain Balbas who's choshen on Meisers. So one guy was there, was a snitcher. He said to Balbas, he was a Baal Loshanar, he said, have daitach. Look what they're going to do, because they suspect you. Watch them carefully. They're going to leave stuff in their plate. Yosef lay, so the Baal Boss sat there. Minding he checked out what's going on here. So what are they going to do? They need to take him the Demai, but they can't because he's watching them. Hawkeye. So what do they do? This is fascinating. They pretended they were throwing the food to each other. They had a food fight. And in the course of the food fight, some of the food got left over. They said, that'll be the Trumas Meiser. So the Baal Boss didn't realize what they were doing. He thought they were just having this food fight. He didn't realize they were actually being pisaking the stuff as they were throwing it. It's amazing, isn't it? So they were throwing each to each other. Umasakin that way. Now the kash the Gemara has is Veino Rotza Nachas Ruach. Here, see, the Baal Boss doesn't want the Nachas Ruach. He doesn't want people to take Trumas and Meises leaving on the plate. Says about Roitzu. He wants them to enjoy their meal any way they want. As Lo by the Chashdune, but he has a conflicting value that he doesn't want to be suspected. So therefore, those two conflicting values come into play. So as long as he wants you to do whatever you want, as long as it's not degrading to him that it's apparent that you suspect him not being marvish Trumas and Meises. So for instance, if you just left over on your plate, that wouldn't bother him, right? So therefore, as long as you do it in a way which is not going to make him feel degraded, he doesn't mind if you do it, and it's not gezel. It's they had no choice. They were up against the creek. Aver lishma. It's still kosher. That's right. It was only Demai, so that's why it's okay. Today it's Vadai. Okay, let's see if we can finish the Mishnah before the tape runs out. Tani Rabbi Yehuda Oiser. Rabbi Yehuda says you can't make this tonight from Erev Shabbos. My time, Rabbi Yehuda. What's large, Rabbi Yehuda? The Yeshua Masa Dover Shei B'Shus. Look, you make it tonight, which is not your Rishus. It's not yours. Mod Rabbi Yehuda, however, Shulo Lech V'Lokech Mimokom Shloch Al-Zeh Ma'aser. Rabbi Yehuda does have a special kula, which is not really relevant to our Mishnah. That if you bought stuff which is Demai, you can go back to the same Baal Boss and buy more Demai from him and Meiser from the second Demai and the first Demai. Even though normally not allowed to Meiser from one Demai and the other, this you're allowed to because they're both from the same source. Says the Gemara, V'yeshad Meiser Marfish al Dover Sheinu Shalo. Now, how can you Marfish on something which is not yours? And we're going back to our Mishnah. According to Rabban, Hakim Marbishna, which is not yours. Rav Shem Rabbi Yochanan said there's a special kula here. Also, so Kemocher payers Tvulin L'Chavero. It's the same. They made this like where I sell tevel to my friend. Caught at the time, like we learned. Hamocher payers Tvulin L'Chavero. Inadvertently, I sell tevel to you. Hareza Ratzach Charavu Misakto. I run after you and say, Rabbi, I sold you tevel. Let's be mistaken.